them who were Zooming in too. And, so it was really nice.
Yeah, it was
We're
just
live
live.
now. Thanks. Okay. We are live now.
All right, very good. Okay, I am going to call the meeting of the 10th Judicial District Nominating Commission to order. We are on YouTube, so members of the public would be able to view this meeting as it occurs. One thing that will assist the public, I know all of you have been good about making sure that your name identifies you. You can see that on the YouTube, especially if you're in gallery view. And that's helpful to the public too. When you speak during the meeting, the Open Meetings Act guidance rules say it's a good idea to identify yourself before you speak, and that probably will help Kevin Moriarty also, who's trying to take good notes as we go along. So welcome all to our meeting today. The first thing that I'd like to do is to ask that you review the agenda that we sent out about 20 minutes ago and see if there's if it's appropriate to you such that you would approve it, or if there's something that you would like to add to the agenda before we approve it. All right, I'll stand for a motion to approve the agenda as written then.
This
So
is
moved.
Laura. I'll move that we approve the agenda as written.
All right.
Second, Beth Serbon.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand and leave it up so that Kevin and I can count. Looks like it is unanimous. Motion carried. The next thing we'll look at is the minutes from our last meeting, which was October 7. I trust that you've received the minutes. I hope that you have them so that you can review them if you haven't already. And I would entertain a motion if there are any additions or corrections. Mr. Turner?
Yes, I move acceptance of the minutes, previous minutes.
All right, it's been moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Laura will second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carried. The minutes are approved as written. Thank you, Mr. Moriarty. And the next item on the agenda is discussion concerning the interest in the position of a district judge. And this was requested to be on the agenda by one of our commission members. And so I'll just open the floor for discussion on that point.
This is James Griffith. I asked for this to be put on the agenda before we kind of get into looking at the nominees we have. It struck me how few there were. And I also recall that one of our responsibilities is to be encouraging people who are the right people to be judges to apply. And so given the small number of applicants, I wondered if we as a commission are aware of what's discouraging people from applying, and is there anything that we can do to aid in that? And obviously the lawyer members of the commission are probably more plugged into what that might be, if it is anything.
Justice?
Yes, Mr. Musial.
I'll go ahead and start. I thought about this once I saw it on the agenda, and I appreciate James putting it on there. One of the things I thought we might do as a commission is coordinate with the Johnson County Bar Association to create a survey of bar members to try to answer this question. I have my suspicions or anecdotal reasons to think why there's a smaller and smaller pool. I think a large part of it is the salary of district court judges. It is a statewide mandated salary. I think it's around $125,000 now, which in Johnson County is not a competitive salary to that of a successful practicing lawyer. I think the lack of staff support, not that we don't have great people working there, but their salaries are also set by the state. And as Judge Moriarty pointed out 3 or 4 years ago in presentations to the Bar Association, the purchasing power for those salaries has gone down considerably in the last 10 years due to lack of raises, increased health insurance copays and premium costs, et cetera. So the economics of being a judge are not good. The economics of being an administrative assistant to a judge are not good. And we also have a perception in society, I think, that judges are, whenever we hear about a bad decision, that's the only thing we hear about. We don't hear about the 99% of the time the judges are doing a good job, and maybe we can help with the perception. I don't know there's anything we can do as a commission about the economics that mean that an awful lot of really good candidates, good lawyers in Johnson County, probably choose not to take a pay cut to go to a job where their support is less than they had at their law firm, and to, in addition, be up for retention every 4 years, even though there's only a small chance of being unretained. Those are kind of my views of why the number of people has gone from the mid-20s, I think probably 10 years ago, to the 7 candidates we have applying for this application. Those are my thoughts.
I might add to that maybe I don't know this, but maybe it has something to do with the position that the nominees will go into, which is family court. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I would add that to the conversation.
I have had an update, if I could interject there, I've had an update on the position will be family, possibly with some juvenile added to that as part of the assignment.
I'm also going to say it's a tremendous amount of work to put together an application and all of the things that are required for an applicant. And so I suspect there may be some deterrent on that. Additionally, it's difficult for an attorney to put themselves out there, and that's what they do when they apply for a judgeship. It's very public. People know that they're applying. While they may not be able to review their form, they know that they're out there. They know that they're on the list. And I'm not sure that, I mean, some attorneys, I think, reach out and want to get some feedback afterwards to find out how they can do better, but there's really not a method to help attorneys have feedback. So, how could they improve their chances of making the top 3? So I think that there are a lot of different factors, is my thought too.
This is Rick. My 2 cents are, at least in part, that the bar tends to inquire of one another who is up this go round, who has reapplied. And my perception of the 7 that we have is it's a very strong field. And at least part of the reason that I think the numbers are down is because people are sizing up what sort of potential do they have to actually be selected. And so it's not fun to submit your name and not be chosen. And I think that's at least a factor that enters into the equation.
Well, I think that I talked to someone who's a longtime friend of mine, very successful attorney, and he mentioned that his son-in-law might want to be a judge someday. What was it all about? What was the process? And then he said, what's the salary? And when I told him that, he said, well, I will encourage him not to do that. So I think the salary has a lot to do with it.
There have, this Steve Tatum, we've had a lot of efforts to get salary increases, and it's been very hard sledding. I don't think that the legislature has been very interested in increasing the salary for us. But at this time, we're in the lower 40s in across the states in the United States in our salary. We're towards the bottom.
We're either the bottom or the next to the bottom.
Yes.
One of the things that is less obvious, but was very important to me when I became a judge. I'd been practicing for about 20 years, and I realized that if I became a judge, I would lose all of my client base. And you serve 1 year, and then you have to be on the ballot the next election. So, for example, with my recent appointment, I was appointed in January of 20, and I will be on the ballot in 22. So in less than 2 years, you're on the ballot. And if you're not retained, you have to find a new job with no client base. And that's pretty scary to think about. Mr. Parisi, you're on mute.
Well, it's interesting because it's telling me right now that I'm muted. I'm not? Okay, sorry. I think everything that's been said, economics being the primary reason that people aren't applying for judges, but I also think that there's been three in a relatively short time span positions that have been available in Johnson County. So I think you got a pool of applicants that was larger at the first and it's winnowed a little bit with each successive position that's become available. I think part of the reason is what's already been mentioned is you look at the pool of people who are there, which probably dissuades others from putting their hat in the ring when they already see who hasn't made it in the relatively recent past. So I think if there had been a bigger gap between the last position and this position, there might have been more applicants. I also note that a couple of people that repetitively applied, interestingly enough, did not apply this time. And it might be worth going back if there's going to be any kind of an interview process, finding out why those people did not apply this time rather than just anecdotally say, subjectively stating why we believe that's the case.
All right, anyone else? Before we go on to the next topic, I certainly don't want to cut anyone off, and I don't want to leave without giving people a chance to make a motion if you think that a motion would be appropriate. I don't have one in mind.
I would be interested, this is Greg Musel, I'd be interested to know if the rest of the commission believes we could make any progress by creating a survey that would go to bar members about whether you've ever considered being a judge. If so, what were the factors? Why didn't you? What do you hear from others? To try, I think John's got a great point of maybe interviewing some folks that that didn't apply this time, but even applicants that have been applying. Why do you continue to apply? And get some more data. I think it's going to. I really think anecdotally, the lawyers here know why people don't apply, but we could get some data for that, and I'd be happy to work with Tracy DeMaria and anybody on the commission that wants to be part of that. If there's a consensus, it would be helpful. I don't know if it would be or not.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm other than I guess the retired judges, I'm probably the only other person on this commission that's actually applied to be a district court judge. And it's just interesting some of the feedback that you get from other people, and there are a variety of reasons why. And I know the process when I did it, there were a couple of attorneys that were basically told that you're probably not going to ever make the panel with the current makeup of the commission, because for whatever reason, the attorney just wasn't going to get traction from the the panel members to be voted into the top 3. And so I think some of those attorneys just stopped applying because like I said, it's a lot of work to put together the form, to update the form, to put your name on the list, to schedule the interview. I mean, there's a lot of time, effort, and energy, but also emotional energy, to put yourself out there. And now that everything's online, people can watch it. And so I think, Greg, it probably would, I don't disagree, in John, that having a survey would be good, but I also don't want to get in the position that you have an attorney that feels like they've been really encouraged by commission members, attorney or otherwise, to apply, and then they don't even make it out of the they don't get a vote. And then because in that anyway, there's just a lot of things that I think go into why people do what they do. And now with COVID, I mean, I could see that if people are concerned, they don't want to lose their attorney, or they don't want to lose their practice or their clients if they don't make a panel in this time of COVID, they're not going to put their name out there. So, but I don't disagree how it'd be pretty easy, I think, to do kind of a survey monkey to ask people what they think about it. Because I really think people that want to be judges, for the most part, are doing it because they want to be able to serve the community, and this is a way that they see they can serve the community. While I think they are absolutely, our people are underpaid, and this has been a problem for years. Judge Walton used to talk about it, and he retired, James, when I first started practicing, and but he was talking about how low Kansas judges are paid, and so this has been a problem for my entire practice. And those are things that we need to talk with our legislators about.
Am I right that there's a Johnson County add-on, or am I disconnected on that? Okay.
No. Now, we are fortunate in Johnson County because the county commissioners created our GIM system, which is an awesome electronic filing system that we have the privilege of using in Johnson County, that I'm not thrilled that we're going to be going to some other system. Hopefully it's as good. I do not like the filer system, but now I'm getting into the weeds. So anyway.
Now, there is, so that you'll know, James, you're not completely wrong. The magistrate's supplement, there's a magistrate supplement by the county, but not the district court judge. And it's a significant subsidy.
This is Rick. I would just, if James is accurate, that part of our role is to encourage people to consider applying. I am supportive of Greg's willingness to lead that effort, if that's what I hear Greg saying.
You mean the Survey Monkey?
Yes.
All those in favor? Greg's in charge.
Well,
I think a survey is a really good idea. Interestingly, I would also say I think we have a really strong group of judges right now who have taken on their positions. And I would also say that unless you screw up badly, you're going to get retained in Johnson County, generally speaking. And finally, that in 20 years, you have the retirement system is pretty darn good, considering. Do need to fix the salary structure, and you know what we did, and Kevin knows this, with our magistrates, because we wanted law-trained magistrates, because some parts of Kansas don't have law-trained magistrates. So we went to the legislature and they okayed it for us to have a supplement. And that's what we do. With the county provides a supplement for the magistrates so that they get a better salary. I don't know if that could be done for district court judges or not. Just thoughts.
Justice Wilson, Greg Musil, I'd be happy to be part of this, but I do not, and if you want to call me lead the committee, but I'd like a subcommittee with 2 commission members and at least 2 lay people to help with this. It wouldn't be a big effort, I don't think, to put together something that made sense. But
okay, let's start with, this is Justice Wilson. Let's start with a raise of hands if there's a consensus that you think some kind of survey in conjunction with the Bar Association would be a good idea to pursue. Okay, I think there's a consensus for that. So I would like to go with Greg's suggestion for 2 lawyers and 2 lay people to work with Tracy DeMaria at the Johnson County Bar Association to set something up. So Greg has volunteered graciously. Thank you, Greg. Who will be the other lawyer member of the committee?
Thank you, John.
I missed that hand, but I sure would welcome a hand.
I think, John, didn't you nod your head?
All right, I see it now. This Justice Wilson, I think John has volunteered. So if there's another lawyer who wants to have a runoff, let's see your hand ASAP. Okay, we have John Parisi and Greg Musel as the lawyer members. Who of the non-lawyer members would be willing to help with this?
I think James should do it since it was his idea.
James has already raised his hand, and so has Annabeth. So is there anyone else who would like to have a runoff? All right, Annabeth and James, I appreciate your help on that. So we've got our 4, and I'll leave that to you. Then maybe Greg, if you could make sure
I'll get in touch after I talk to Tracy.
All right, thank you. I think that's a great idea. And thank you, James, for the suggestion. I think that was a really good discussion. All right, now we're ready for number 4, discussion of nominees to interview. There are 7, and I've received reports on the from the CLE Commission and background checks that are that look fine as far as what I can tell. We can get a little bit more into the weeds if you'd like to go into executive session. We can sure do that if there's a motion to do that. All right, I don't see a motion. So we have 7 nominees.
I'm on a Zoom call. Can I call you back?
And in the past, as you all know better than I, we've had members of the commission assigned to each of the nominees. There are 7 nominees. There are 14 members on the commission. So yes, Laura. I can't hear you. I can't hear you for some reason. It doesn't show you're muted.
Sometimes my microphone goes down. There you go.
I can hear you.
So I move that we interview all 7 applicants.
I second that.
And that was Steve Tatum, seconding.
Right. Yes.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. All right, motion carried. Yes, Ms. Serbach.
I would like to bring up something right now. In our interviews last time, I interviewed the same person. I have interviewed him twice. And we talked about when we started this session up, before we started drawing names and assigning people, making sure that if you'd already visited with them personally once, you would not do it a second time, mainly because it's not fair to the applicants, not so much for us, but for them, because they should have a chance to get to know personally new people. You know, get to impress new people, I guess is the word. So I would like to make something we decide to do.
Well,
I don't know that we have.
I agree with that. And I think Sam had a suggestion as well.
Sam, did you have a suggestion?
Well, my suggestion would be that we voted against what I was thinking about suggesting, and so I'm fine with it. I was suggesting let's not. If somebody's gone through this process deeply for 3 or 4 times, we know them, then maybe there's some kind of like great, different process for them. But I agree. I think it's more open if we interview all 7. So I'm fine with that. Thanks, James, for remembering.
Well, another thing I was thinking about, there might be some traction for having one lawyer member, one non-lawyer member interview each one. But you guys.
Well, that's what we've done, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we have
but
done.
but do different people. You can just choose who you would like to interview, and it might be somebody that is different.
Sure.
Or everybody could do all 7.
No.
Yeah, no.
I thought that's what Sam was saying that you've done.
No, I think what Sam was suggesting, and let's pick, I'm going to pick on like Vanessa or Chris, that they've applied before, that maybe they could get a pass and not apply. But
Right.
one thing, and I'm relatively new on the commission, but not as new as Josie and Stephanie. And one thing I noticed the last time that we went through, there were some things that I'd remembered from my prior interview with some people that Josie and Stephanie weren't aware of because they'd never met the person and they didn't know some of the background of the person. And so the person, they kind of skipped over things that they might have talked about in a prior interview. And so it really didn't completely strike me until we had talked afterwards that, or I guess we'd talked, and that, Josie, I think in particularly, had verbalized some things she didn't pick up on that some others of us were aware of. And that was only because we had met and had the opportunity to interview these folks before. So that's my biggest reason for not agreeing with Sam, is that I think that the applicants need an opportunity to impress everybody. And just because we've met them a couple of times or know them because we're practicing doesn't mean all the people that are lay people on our commission have. And I think it's important that they get the full flavor. So.
And I agree, Laura. I don't feel strongly about it. And I was thinking about the applicants more than anybody else, because
Right.
I think there's one person on here, and I haven't been on as long as some people, but there's maybe one person that I haven't talked to 3 or 4 times. But you're right. There's Stephanie and a couple others that they're voting also, and they don't know the folks. So I'm fine with that. And Annabeth came up with another good point too, and that is it's going to be difficult for me to find somebody that I haven't already interviewed or talked to, but I think it's a good suggestion by Annabeth.
Mr. Bath, you had something you wanted to say.
Thanks, Justice. So I think Laura's got a good point there, and Sam's not incorrect either in that we know a lot about these people. But if there are candidates who've gone up before and we didn't interview them and then they didn't go up, they'd feel like they lost an opportunity. So I think we interview everybody. Perhaps what we could discuss is maybe people we've seen, we only do a 15-minute interview. I'm not proposing that necessarily. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, this is Annabeth. I think that each time these people come through, even though many of them have been here before and more than once, they're with a different group of people that are their competitors. And so I think we need to start the judgment over. And that's what we're doing.
I mean, I think our 20-minute, 30-minute segments with 20-minute interviews with the 10 minutes in between, since we only have 7, we'll cycle through that
pretty fast. Yeah.
So wherever Kevin is, so should we maybe we should send Kevin, I don't know if we can send an email if that violates an open meeting thing, but I was going to say, just to say who we've had, so he doesn't have to go back and look at all the committee assignments to try to assign people to do the background, because they may have put somebody new on the form.
What about just volunteering while we're in the meeting now, that someone could volunteer? I'll read a name out, and we'll have volunteers and assign 2 people per person. Is anybody offended by that? I don't see anybody who looks offended.
What if we don't want to volunteer?
You'll get the last person. That's what's going to happen.
I kind of know how that feels, Judge.
Okay, is that all right with everybody? Look
Yeah,
at the
we're-
list. I hope you have the list in front of you. I'm sorry, Steve, I am talking over you.
I just said you might as well try it and see how it works, but I do like kind of the idea of one turning one layperson
Yeah.
to do an info.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's have well, since it comes first in the alphabet, let's have an attorney volunteer for Josh Allen.
I'll do Josh.
Okay. Laura. And now a lay person to volunteer for Josh Allen, Mr. Turner. All right, now we're Jennifer Ashford, an attorney to volunteer.
I would do that.
Steve.
Yep.
And a lay person to volunteer for Jennifer Ashford.
Did you do Jennifer last time too, Steve?
No, I did tell Parrot.
Okay, that's right.
A lay person to volunteer for Jennifer Ashford, who's a sitting magistrate.
Yeah, I'll join Steve.
Okay, Joe. Kevin Breer is a practicing attorney. Tom Bath. And a lay person for Kevin Breer, Annabeth. And Chris J. Ram, an attorney. John Parisi. And a lay person, Stephanie Moore. And a lawyer for Michael McCullough. Volunteer for doing the background check for Michael McCullough.
Rick has done Michael McCulloch before. That's the reason I'm hesitant to offer.
I'll do it.
Well, Rick, I'll trade you.
Kevin?
Oh,
I'll do it. I'm just typing, so I'm not getting to raise my hand.
Okay. Kevin, and who is a lay person who will interview Michael McCullough? Do we have a volunteer? Josie Herrera. All right. Vanessa Reebley, who is a lawyer member who will, Greg Musel. And a lay person, James Griffith. I think we have 2 commissioners left. Who is the lawyer member who is not signed up?
Rick.
Rick. We'll do Michael Tell Parrott, and the lay person who is not yet, Doug Brownlee. All right, very well. Okay, now we're going to talk about the next item on the agenda. Determine the time to start the meeting, time to start interviews, and I think we better talk about how those interviews are going to be done.
Can I weigh in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that we need to do them virtually. I think it's too soon to be in person, even if we have a big room. We have a lot of, it would be devastating for us to be a super spreader in a situation like this. So I think that we honestly have to do virtually, and we can start. I think we talked before about starting at 8 o'clock with public comments at 8:15, interviews at 9 o'clock, and then every 30 minutes with a working lunch at noon and restarting at 1 o'clock. And I think we agreed that we'd tell the candidates they have 3 minutes to tell us about them in the beginning so they can shove off. In the past, we've asked them, you know, a question that was a softball question they told us to ask, but some way to get them familiar and relaxed in front of this group of folks.
If that's a motion, I second it.
How about we break it down into smaller parts? I move that we do it virtually.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Kevin moved and John Parisi seconded to do this by Zoom. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, and I'll note that Greg had to sign off. I don't think he's still on. He had something he had to do, but we still have a quorum. All right, the motion passes. It will be done by Zoom. Do you want to make a motion, Kevin, for another little part?
Yeah, in our minutes from before, we had the interview structure, and I moved that we just reaffirm that.
All right, is there a second?
Second, Annabeth.
Annabeth seconds. Any discussion?
This is Parisi. I would only clarify that in the minutes, it says that we will do it either by in person or by Zoom. So if we're adopting that, it will be obviously modified that we're doing it by Zoom.
Correct.
I have a question. Annabeth, a question. Could we, on our interviews where we just have 2 people from this committee and the applicant, could we do those in person? Would that be up to each interview team?
That's up to each interview team how you want to do it.
Thank you.
So that was just to reiterate, Kevin, we start at 8, public comment at 8:15.
Right.
And then potential executive session at 8:30. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll put that in there.
And then start the interviews at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, at least that would be the plan. Obviously, if any of those things take longer, if we have a lot of people who want to speak from the public, we might have to adjust that. But that's the proposed schedule. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Laura.
Laura.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, ma'am.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion carried. Do you have another small part?
Yeah, my last small part is we got to figure out what the order of interviews are. And I think we talked about before, how about you just, instead of doing alphabetically, because that way, you know, if you're a Zimmerman, for example, you're always last. And if you're Alan, you're always first. And I don't know if maybe we can mix it up a little bit. And then you could just pick. I move that we allow Tiffany to set the times because she's going to have to work with them anyway.
All right, is there a second?
Kevin, are you also recommending that Tiffany just draw names out of a hat?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I second.
Hat drawer.
Yeah.
All right, James, with that friendly amendment, is that still your second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, then I think the only other part we talked about was the 3-minute introduction and then a softball question or a first question by one of the interviewees. I think you talked about. Do you want to make that a motion?
Well, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? What do you think works better for the candidates?
I think it's pretty easy. I think it kind of depends on the individual, right? I've had some people wanted a question just because they felt that started them out better. Other people were perfectly fine with just doing the opening 3 minutes.
When we do the interview, we could ask them what they'd prefer and give them the benefit of whatever they'd prefer.
Yeah, let's just take it off and let everybody kind of figure out how it works for their candidate, because we want them to be as comfortable as possible.
Right.
Should we tell them to be prepared for?
If they're not prepared coming in for an interview, they're going to really have a bad day.
We'll find out. Yeah, we will.
Well, now that Kevin's left the bench, he's crazy, not alphabetical. Everybody does what they want. Wow.
All these rules just get to you after a while.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we won't tell them anything then, unless somebody makes a motion.
I think that's good.
Okay. And I assume we're still good for December the 9th, I hope.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what we published.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we decided, but you guys are the bosses and we can always publish again if something comes up.
We still need pictures taken, and maybe the only way we'll be able to do this, because Greg brought it up last time, maybe we're gonna have to send those in, you know, a headshot or something and do it that way. I don't think we're all gonna be able to get together anytime in the next 3 months together.
Is that, I assume this is for the website?
Yeah.
Well, you are the website czar, so I'm sure everyone will do what you say. And
Do you want a recent one, or like from high school or something?
Well, if it's anything like,
Confirmation.
if it's anything like some obituaries I see, they're like 40 years old sometimes. So I'd prefer something a little bit more recent.
Use your high school prom picture, okay?
do you want to give them a deadline, Kevin? And afterwards, you'll show up with the camera?
They don't want that.
Well, but
yeah.
who are we missing? Do you know, Tiffany, do you know who we're missing? Or Kevin? Because I think we all sent pictures in, didn't we? We just don't have a group shot.
Yeah, we sent pictures in.
We did? I'll check and see who's missing.
Okay.
I'll get back to you guys in the next 10 days to find out who's missing.
All right.
Kevin,
Yeah.
this is Stephanie Moore. I just would like to maybe recommend you take down the current group photo, if that's confusing to people who might get onto the website.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Good idea.
Or you could, you know, color out the faces of people who aren't.
Yeah, so everybody.
Photoshop in the new ones.
Okay, it looks like everybody's got a picture, an individual picture. We just don't have a good, we just don't have a group.
We are okay with, we just get to take down the group picture.
I think
Okay.
so.
Okay, Mr. Moriarty, next time before you put
Oh.
on your enforcement hat,
Josie,
please.
I don't
make sure
see
we have
you,
rule
though.
breakers.
You don't see me?
I don't see Josie.
I don't think we have Josie.
I don't think she's.
It's me. I'm sorry. I think I totally forgot. Out of sight, out of mind. I will get a bio and a picture over to you. Who do I send that to?
I
Send
think
it.
Tiffany or Kevin. Kevin will figure out where it needs to go.
I'll figure it out. If you just don't move right now, I can do it. Just.
Take a screenshot. You
Yeah.
look great.
Oh, that's true. But we need Greg to get back on, and you've got us all in our group.
Yeah.
No, I could take a screenshot, but Greg's not here, so he's iPhone right now, I think. Okay, well, that's all I have on my agenda. So maybe, well,
I have
I'll
a
tell
quick.
you. Go ahead.
Are all of our phone numbers and information, is it still current? Because I'll need to call Joe or Joe to call me and we coordinate on the interview. So just making sure that we have current numbers. I assume they're all current.
I think
Well, maybe we could all just get a list again. Current list.
Yeah, I think we got a list at our last interview a month or so ago.
Right.
Okay.
Can somebody remind me who's the lawyer that took Michael McCulloch? I was looking down. Who am I
Me.
interviewing with?
I am.
You're with Kevin.
Kevin is.
Thank you.
Okay, I have my camera. If anyone objects to me taking a screenshot of this, please raise your hand, make yourself known.
Here, I'm gonna take my glasses off because I'm shining.
Take your glasses off, turn on the spotlight that makes you look like you're subject to cross-examination.
Oh,
And there's Greg. Okay, looking fine. All right. Looks pretty good. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you. I will send that to Kevin. Now we have a group picture.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll be able to get one where we can all wrap our arms around each other very soon. Okay, that's the end of my agenda. Does anyone else have something that they need to bring up for the good of the order?
This is James Griffith. Just a question for Kevin. The packets, will we be picking them up from you?
Yeah, we sent out an email. And there's yours the only one's here, James. So yeah.
I'll look for that. I must have missed it. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought we sent a reminder, but it's okay. It's only one new candidate. You've seen everybody but one. Many times.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time, your cooperation, your cordiality. You all have a good day. Take care.
Thank you.
And a happy Thanksgiving.